Good evening and welcome to the Daily News Roundup. I am Abigail Smythe. Coming up in this evening's newscast, at least 4 people killed in road accidents over Heroes Weekend. 2 Hanover women charged with trafficking underage girls. 21-year-old pregnant woman murdered in Franklin Town. Her 10-month-old baby also shot. 61-year-old man charged for alleged rape of 13-year-old girl. Crime on the rise in St. Mary. Dengue cases on the rise across the country. In business, Kingston Freeport Terminal invests over $20 million in new equipment. In the region, UK announces removal of visa requirement for Guyanese citizens. Further overseas, France pledges air defense systems to protect Ukrainian cities. And in sports, Jamaica's Sunshine Girls continue winning streak in America's Netball Regional Qualifier. And now for the news in detail. At least 4 people have been killed in road accidents during the Heroes holiday weekend. The Constabulary's Corporate Communications Unit, CCU, reports that at least 2 motorcyclists are among those killed. In one of the latest incidents, a reggae artist was involved in a motorcycle crash. He's identified as Ralston Richards, also called Secure Ginal, from Manchester. He was killed when his motorcycle crashed along the Boscobel Main Road in St. Mary. On Saturday, a teenager was killed when his motorcycle collided with a Toyota Hiace in Frome, Westmoreland. Meanwhile, a 76-year-old pedestrian was also killed on the weekend when he was hit by a truck along Spanish Town Road in St. Andrew. Before the holiday, 344 people had been killed in over 200 road crashes between July and September. The Road Safety Unit, RSU, says there were 298 fatal collisions within the period. The RSU revealed that the top 3 categories with the highest number of fatalities were motorcyclists with 99 fatalities, private motorcar drivers with 69, and pedestrians with 68 fatalities. The RSU reports that the main cause of road fatalities was proceeding at excessive speed with no regards to condition. Further statistics revealed that 85% of those killed were males and 15% were female. Additionally, the same July to September period, 17 children died as a result of 14 traffic crashes, while there were 43 recorded deaths of elderly people who died as a result of 34 crashes. The RSU says this is a 26% increase in road fatalities among the elderly compared to the same period last year. 11 pillion passengers were also killed in 11 fatal crashes, while 13 pedal cyclists were killed in the same amount of crashes between July and September. There were 36 multiple fatal collisions during the 3-month period, resulting in 78 road fatalities. 2 Hanover women have been arrested and charged in connection with the trafficking of 3 underage girls. They were charged last week by members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF's Anti-Trafficking Vice Squad. The women charged are 33-year-old Nicole Brissett of Lucy, Hanover, and 39-year-old Nicola Johnson of Hanover and St. Thomas addresses. Their 3 victims are all under the age of 16. In recent times, the JCF has been signaling that it will be getting tougher on clamping down on human trafficking. Earlier this month, the Minister of National Security, Dr. Horace Chang, called for renewed focus by CARICOM member states on combating human trafficking as well as the illicit firearms trade. As it relates to human trafficking, Dr. Chang says the perpetrators of this crime continue to exploit the region's most vulnerable who are forced into labor, sexual servitude, and debt bondage. He points out that the latest United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime Global Report on Trafficking in Persons shows that around 1/3 of all detected victims are children, a figure that has tripled over the past 15 years. And according to the U.S. Department of State 2022 Trafficking in Persons report for Jamaica, traffickers increasingly use social media platforms and false job offers to recruit victims. Local experts report that the pandemic has accelerated this trend as traffickers have adapted by seeking methods to recruit individuals, especially children, in their own homes. Communities vulnerable to sex trafficking and forced labor include young women and children from poor households, child victims of sexual abuse, LGBTQI+, youth experiencing homelessness, residents of Jamaica's poverty-stricken areas effectively controlled by criminal dons, migrant workers, and workers in the informal sector, particularly on family farms and in markets and shops. Residents of Maiden Street in Franklin Town, East Kingston, are condemning the shooting death of a woman who was said to be 7 months pregnant in the community on Sunday. Dead is 21-year-old Dominique Donaldson, otherwise called Dam Dam. Her 10-month-old baby and her spouse were also injured during the attack. Reports are that about 2:35 a.m., Donaldson and her family were at home when gunmen kicked open their door and opened fire, hitting all three. Donaldson and her spouse were taken to the hospital where she was pronounced dead. A resident said it was later that she realized the baby was shot. The residents are calling on the government and the police to intervene to prevent the further escalation of violence in the space. Acting Superintendent for the St. Mary Police Division, Deputy Superintendent DSP Kevin Francis, has expressed concern about the increase in crime in some sections of the parish. The parish has recorded a nearly 50% increase in murders compared with a similar period last year. DSP Francis says 3 of the 11 police areas have caught the attention of the authorities: Anoto Bay, Orokabessa, and Gale. In the meantime, DSP Francis is encouraging residents to share information with the police to aid in the fight against crime. He says those who do not feel comfortable speaking directly to the police should find other community leaders to pass on the information. He says, quote, "If you don't trust your police sources, trust your politicians. If you don't trust your politicians, trust the justices of the peace. If you don't trust the justices of the peace, trust yourself that you will be able to share information that can save somebody's life." End quote. Homicide detectives are searching for 2 suspects in connection with the fatal shooting of a government employee in Portmore, St. Catherine on Saturday. Garfield Jones, an auditor in the Ministry of National Security, was shot dead at a construction site in 5 East, Greater Portmore. It is understood that Mr. Jones was transporting workers away from the site when gunmen opened fire at his motor vehicle. He was taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead. It is reported that Mr. Jones had gone to the construction site after the workers became fearful when armed thugs showed up. The Greater Portmore Police are investigating the incident. And the Westmoreland Police have charged a 61-year-old man for the alleged rape of a 13-year-old girl in Orange Hill District, Darliston. Charged is 61-year-old Wellesley Stone of the same address. The Savannah Lamar Police report that on Thursday, October 6 and Saturday, October 8, 2022, the accused, who is a family friend, was at home with the complainant when he allegedly sexually assaulted her. A report was made to the police and an investigation launched. Stone was apprehended on Saturday, October 15, after he was pointed out to the police. He was subsequently charged and his court date is being finalized. Meanwhile, the St. Anne police are probing the alleged sexual assault of a female visitor at a hotel in the parish. It is reported that a woman and the man, said to be a photographer, became acquaintances subsequent to her arrival in Jamaica from the United Kingdom on October 5. It is alleged that on Sunday afternoon, the woman went to a restroom at the property where she was reportedly lured into a cubicle by the man and was assaulted. She reportedly revealed the incident to a relative and a report subsequently made to the hotel. An intensive investigation has commenced into the matter and the alleged perpetrator is being sought by the police. The Ministry of Health and Wellness says the country has recorded nearly 60 suspected cases of dengue fever since the start of this year. Dengue fever is spread to people through the bite of an infected Aedes aegypti mosquito. Director of Environmental Health Everton Baker says the ministry is closely monitoring the situation in light of recent heavy rains and the resultant increase in the mosquito population. He adds that climate change has resulted in longer breeding seasons for mosquitoes. In that regard, he notes that there has been an increase in mosquito fogging. In the meantime, Mr. Baker is urging householders to rid their surroundings of mosquito breeding sites. Opposition spokesperson on health and wellness, Dr. Maurice Guy, is calling on Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton to ensure that all operating theatres in public hospitals across the island are adequately maintained to deliver quality patient services. Dr. Guy's call comes following what he describes as disturbing information that he received about one of the operating theatres at the Kingston Public Hospital KPH that had to pause operations 3 days ago due to a leak from the ceiling. He adds that the hospital also ran out of medical oxygen within the last 3 days, causing postponement of surgeries and the hospital having to resort to alternative actions. In a statement on Monday, Dr. Guy said he is, quote, deeply concerned about the lack of oxygen because it revealed that the administration is no longer concerned about oxygen supplies as Jamaica is out of the heightened COVID-19 pandemic, end quote. The opposition spokesman says with a lack of oxygen and poor maintenance or inoperable structures and equipment, this hinders the public hospitals from providing the quality care and service in critical circumstances and the vulnerable citizens. Dr. Guy also points to another incident he brought to the attention of the health minister 3 weeks ago that took place at the Hanover hospital where malfunctioning air conditioners caused water leaks in operating theatres. He says this resulted in the postponement of surgeries and remains unresolved. The opposition spokesman states that the Minister of Health seems to have lost focus on his primary responsibility to ensure proper cost-effective health services for all citizens. Dr. Guy argues that the government's intention to pursue the Code Care program model, which promotes the transfer of surgeries to private facilities, is potentially devastating to the poor, disabled, and other vulnerable groups due to the huge costs for these groups if they are to try accessing care privately. He laments that there is a pattern of neglect of publicly funded hospitals in favor of private arrangements. He reiterated that the issues at KPH must be remedied as it is the largest trauma hospital in the public health system and is the hospital of choice for many citizens. The mayor of Black River, Derek Sangster, is demanding from the Finance Ministry the establishment of a tax collection center in Junction, St. Elizabeth. The mayor demands follows the Councillor for the Junction Division, Seatany Holness, renewed call for the facility, citing the difficulties his constituents face in traversing far distances to conduct business. For over 14 years, the Jamaica Labour Party councillor has been making representation for a tax collection centre for the fast-growing town. Following his latest plea, the councillor has received the full support of his colleague councillors, including the mayor. Members of the Rastafarian community are urging the government to honor the promises made to the victims of the 1963 Coral Gardens incident. According to chairman of the Rastafari Coral Gardens Benevolent Society, Gregory Taylor, following the 2015 report from the Office of the Public Defender and subsequent discussions with the government, a 13-point agreement was negotiated, but some commitments made in that accord have not yet materialized. Mr. Taylor, however, expressed his gratitude for the commitments that have already been honored. These include a public apology done by Prime Minister Andrew Holness in 2017 and the establishment of a trust fund in the sum of $10 million to assist the beneficiaries of those who suffered loss during the incident. Mr. Taylor was speaking at a recent meeting of the St. James Municipal Corporation where Prince Ermias Saleh Selassie, the grandson of the late Emperor of Ethiopia Haile Selassie, was given the key to the tourism capital Montego Bay. And in business, the Kingston Freeport Terminal KFTL has invested more than $20 million in new equipment. KFTL has purchased the 19 shuttle carriers used to transport containers on the port. The company, which is managed by French shipping firm CMA CGM, says the acquisition is to improve efficiency. It says the new equipment is part of its comprehensive investment plan to expand and upgrade services at the terminal. Of the 19 carriers procured, 5 are hybrid units, which will reduce fuel consumption and CO2 emission levels. KFTL also says the resources are already available to commission the equipment, with deployment slated for early November. And in the region, UK has announced the removal of visa requirement for Guyanese citizens seeking to enter the United Kingdom from November 9. Persons will now be able to stay up to 6 months visa-free and will need a visa if they wish to study, work, or stay longer than the aforementioned 6 months. Guyana will now join 11 CARICOM member states who do not need a visa to visit the UK. As of this announcement, citizens of Haiti, Jamaica, and Suriname will need UK visas. United Kingdom High Commissioner Jane Miller made the announcement along with President Irfan Ali at her residence. She said, quote, "This visa lift is a real sign of the confidence that the UK has in the growth of our relationship, and together with the direct flight at the end of March with British Airways, we believe that this change is going to be transformative to our already strong relationship." End quote. The United States and Mexico say they are preparing a United Nations resolution that would authorize an international mission to help improve security in Haiti, whose government issued a distress call for the people of the crisis-racked country. U.S. Ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield made the announcement at an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council as thousands across Haiti organized protests demanding the resignation of Prime Minister Ariel Henry. The demonstrations came on the day the country commemorated the death of Jean-Jacques Dessalines, a slave who became the leader of the world's first Black republic. The U.S. ambassador said the proposed non-UN mission would be limited in time and scope and be led by a partner country that was not named. It would have a mandate to use military force if necessary. She said the resolution being worked on is a direct response to a recent request on October 7 by Prime Minister Henry and the Haitian Council of Ministers for international assistance to help restore security and alleviate the humanitarian crisis. Haiti has been gripped by inflation, causing rising food and fuel prices and exacerbating protests that have brought society to the breaking point. Daily life in Haiti began to spin out of control last month, just hours after the Prime Minister said fuel subsidies would be eliminated, causing prices to double. Gangs blocked the entrance to the country's main fuel terminal, leading to a severe shortage of fuel at a time that rising prices have put food and fuel out of reach for many Haitians. Clean water is also scarce, and the country is battling a cholera outbreak. And on the international scene, France has pledged air defense systems to protect Ukrainian cities against drone strikes. They have also pledged an expanded training program for Ukrainian soldiers as it seeks to puncture perceptions that French President Emmanuel Macron's government has lagged in supporting Ukraine militarily against the Russian invasion. Up to 2,000 Ukrainian soldiers will be embedded with military units in France, rotating through for several weeks of combat training, more specialized training in logistics and other needs, and training on equipment being supplied by France. France has also set up a fund of 100 million euros, which they say the Ukrainians can use to buy what they want on condition that the supplier is French. And in sports, Jamaica's Sunshine Girls continued on a winning path, defeating Team USA 70-16 in their America's Netball Regional Qualifier at the National Indoor Sports Center Monday evening. Amanda Pinkney led the scoring for the Sunshine Girls, dropping in 22 goals from 24 attempts. Pinckney was well supported by Giselle Allison, who scored 23 goals. There were also contributions from Kelsey Jones with 12 goals and captain Janelle Fowler, who scored 13 goals in the first and only quarter she played. The Sunshine Girls are using the qualifiers as preparation for the Netball World Cup next year. And in cricket, head coach Phil Simmons says the West Indies batting effort was unprofessional following their stunning upset by Scotland in their Group B opener of the 2020 World Cup qualifiers on Monday. In pursuit of 161 for victory at the Bellerive Oval, West Indies shockingly collapsed to 118 all out in the penultimate over, going down by 42 runs. Simmons says he is disappointed and stated that the team needs to wake up. The two-time former T20 World Cup champions now face a crucial second game against Zimbabwe on Wednesday in order to keep their hopes alive of a place in the main draw of the tournament. West Indies are also set to face Ireland on Friday in their final qualifying match. And that's it for the news roundup for today. I am Abigail Smythe. See you next time.